All right, and we get to continue. And as you have seen, you know, from the songs that have been playing, if you're really conversant to the Kenyan music scene, you definitely know that we've been listening to Kaka Empire artists back to back, from Akina Femi One, King Kaka, there's Akina Jadi, and so on. And Kaka Empire has gotten to give us some of the best music from the 254, from music that is a club bangers to music that we can say is timeless music. They have done all of that, and they keep doing that. And right about now, allow me to introduce one of the co-founders of Kaka Empire and the managing director, that is the one and only Dennis Njenga. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you for having me.
Kaka Empire.
Yes.
Let's talk about Kaka Empire kidogo before we get into our topic of conversation, which is branding and talent management. You know, just from the time Kaka Empire began to now, how would you describe that journey for you? You know, because it's business for you as well. So just describe how that journey has been. Okay.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's been a long time since I was on TV. So I hope I don't get nervous. So Kaka Empire was a dream. We were in high school with King Kaka. We were actually desk mates. By then we were trying to do music, and the dream came out from the desire of having a structured way of doing music, not only just creating the actual music, but also doing a business out of the music. And that's how Kaka Empire was born. So it was born about 16 years ago.
16 years ago. That's a long time ago, you know, and being constant in the music scene to date. And now I'm seeing you guys diversifying. You're not just doing music, you've gotten into the film industry as well. It's a good thing. You're doing a good thing for the industry. I would love for you to weigh in a bit on the conversation I was having before you came on board with the artist Lucky Mzalendo, who was talking about Kenyans not supporting their own. He feels like we just go with the trend, and whichever artist is at the top at that moment, that's the artist we push, and we don't really care for our music. Would you say that's the case?
Shout out to Lucky, but Lucky is a good friend of mine. We've come from far. I think he has a point. But what I can say also, just to contribute to what he's mentioned, is I think as Kenyans, you're spoiled for choice. So we don't really choose what we want to hear. We go with what's trending, as he said. If you look at the number of international artists who come to perform here compared to the number of Kenyan artists to perform outside, you can't even compare the numbers. You know, it's very few. I'll give an example of our neighboring country, Tanzania. A lot of the artists come to Kenya to perform, but very few of our artists go there. So we are very exposed, and we are spoiled for choice, and that's why people tend to just move with what is trending at the moment. Yes, but he's right. We really need to support our own. Yes. But
we've come a long way. We are not that badly off.
Yes, you can say that. We're not badly off.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to, you know, put that across, because I also feel like we're not that badly off, because I know that we play Kenyan music right here on the show a lot, and people do appreciate it. It's not like atiju tunacheza Kenya and people don't listen in and whatnot. But yeah, that aside, let's talk about branding and talent management. You've been in this game for clearly 16 years, you know, you know, with Kaka Empire. So that's what you do, talent management. Right? Let's talk about the branding bit of a talent, specifically for musicians. How does that look like?
So the different aspects in branding when it comes to a creative, because when it comes to basically branding, let's not really specify on the actual artist, but any brand. It could be you as a TV host, it could be an artist who does drawings and all that. So the core thing that I fight for, the core thing that I normally look at when it comes to branding is how can we convert you as that artist or that creative into a business? And that's branding for me. So if it can make business sense, if you can actually earn an income from your art and your talent or what you can do, then that's branding for me.
But how exactly can one, you know, get to become a brand? I think that that's the most important question that most people, you know, ask. You know, yes, I know I need to become a brand for me to to sell out there or to make business sense, as you're saying.
Yep.
But how exactly, what questions should I ask myself? How should I appear as me in order for me to, you know, stand tall as a brand? She's a brand.
Okay. That's a good question. There are different aspects to you being a successful brand. One is the content that you're producing, the art that you're producing, what you're creating, is it sellable? That's number one. Do you have the right discipline? Actually, when we sign artists at Kaka Empire, or rather from my experience over the years, I don't look at talent as the first thing.
Okay.
I look at, one, are you disciplined? What do you see? What do you foresee for yourself in the next coming years? Or are you only seeing the next 1 year, 2 years, or maybe the few months? Or do you just want to be famous and have a trending song and that's it? So the question I always ask artists is, so where do you see yourself in the next maybe 6 years? And people will have very crazy answers and crazy ideas, but it is where you see yourself from today that determines what type of brand you are. So one, is that brand, is that thing that's creating really sellable? Number two, do you have the right discipline? Number three, are you be able to handle the fame that comes with the popularity? Of course, the last one is talent. Yeah.
Talent comes last.
Yeah, it should be
interesting. We assume that talent should come first, but clearly there's work that needs to be put in, you know, even if you're talented. You know, there's there had been a conversation on, or there's always that conversation of talent is just 20%.
Yes.
You know, 80% is the work you put into the talent. You can be the most talented, but someone who's really averagely talented can surpass you simply because of the work they put in. So I get you when you say that. When you talk about talent management, what would you say is the hardest bit of being a talent manager or managing a talent, specifically in Kenya?
Being able to handle personalities. People have different personalities, like management and leadership. So you tend to, you know, the way you look at things and the way you face challenges is different from how I do them. So that's the one constant challenge that is there in leadership and talent management. Number two, if you don't have structure. So the whole idea of why we created Kaka Empire and what we are doing different from everyone else over these years is we were able to create structure in the way we manage our talent. So from the beginning to end, when an artist comes through our pipeline, how do they start and how do they exit? So the structure is, how do we look at you? How do you present yourself to the public? Are you financially literate? Are you able to plan your financials very well? Are you able to converse? Are you able to talk about what you actually do and what you create? Are you a disciplined individual in terms of how you do your own personal thing? So there's the artist, but then there's the real person at the other side. So who are you on the other side? Then of course now the business. So there's a structure. For example, we have a whole team that does what we do at Kaka Empire. So we have someone who does PR and communication. We have someone who does tours and logistics. We have someone who does social media management. We have someone who purely handles finances. We have a business development person who goes out to seek clients. So it's a very structured way of working. And that's what we do differently.
All right. And being under management sometimes can be a lot. You know, if we just go by some of the stories that you've gotten to hear, even people who've been signed under really big, you know, record labels and management companies, you know, of this continent and the world at large, you get to hear, you know, people wanting out of the deals most of the times. And in Kenya, I wouldn't say we have as much talent management institutions, if I can call them institutions or organizations. Just where is the problem usually, you know?
The number one challenge you have in Kenya is lack of information, especially to the artists. So when these major labels approach us, they look at the catalog you have. So I may have, let's say, 1,000 songs. And when a major label approaches me, they look at how much money they can actually make from this catalog that I hold. But on the other side, the artist does not understand how labels work. So what they'll be attracted to is the money, it's, you know, association with a big label, But then when it comes to the fine details on the fine print on the paperwork, now there is where the problem comes in. Back to my issue on structure. So if you have structure in what you do as a creative, then there are certain things that you'll avoid. For example, you'll have someone who does your paperwork, who's a lawyer, who's able to look at your contract and tell you, by the way, even here and here, I don't think this is the right step to take. Regardless of what money they're paying you, what they're promising you, this contract is more advantageous to them than you. So one, and the major issue we have with creatives right now, and that's why you see people going in and out of labels, is education. They don't have information compared to the markets maybe in Nigeria. I can say Nigeria and South Africa is the most advanced in terms of label artist collaborations. But Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, we don't have that because we lack that communication. And then thing I've seen also right now is there's a huge demand for catalog from Kenya. Okay. A lot of labels are trying to, get their hands into our catalog because they've seen there's potential in what we do. And what they tell you is Kenya is the next big thing.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So for artists, I think you need to get informed. You need to get into what these labels do, get to find out. And before you put your signature in any document, ensure you've done your research and your homework properly.
Your due diligence properly, and have a lawyer to take you through it, because you can't just go through it alone. There are some clauses you may miss that may funga you, into that deal that may not be as good as you may be thinking. Let's get back to branding. I feel like now there's a thin line between being a brand and being an influencer. Where do we draw that line? Because nowadays I feel like it's a really thin line with how social media is going.
So a brand is, for me, just in simple terms to explain the two, is a brand is someone who's someone or something that is well established and it's well known. I don't need to explain who I am to you. So for example, KBC is a brand. I don't need to come and tell you, KBC is a station that does this. No. But as an influencer, it's you're down the tree, the line, you're not really known, but you have a following that sort of advocates for what you do and listens to what you tell them, but it's not as big as a brand. So a brand is more established than an influencer. But also an influencer can be a brand.
I think, do you need to be a brand to be an influencer in this time and age? We have brands that started as influencers, and now they're established brands. Even these artists and musicians that we manage these days, they start as influencers because they influence the way you consume music, the type of music you consume. I'm sure if I look at your playlist right now on your phone, there's a specific artist that you listen to because there's some emotions or something they give you and make you feel. And they started as an influencer, so they've influenced you, but now they are a brand, they're established, they're well known. They don't need, if they walk into this place, people know who they are, so that's the difference. I get you on that. Now, as you started by saying Kenya has a lot of options, and we were musically speaking, Kenya has a lot of options. I feel like right now we have a lot of options even in brands. There's options left, right, center. Do you feel like it's harder now to become a brand, or is it easier to become a brand?
Both ways. One, what social media and this digital wave has created with the audience right now, it's advantageous to one end and also disadvantage to the other, because if you look at how people consume even content, even music as it is, when we started a few years back with Kaka and the other artists, we used to release maybe a song every 2 months or once a month. But now you release a song every week because the consumption level is so high. If you don't release a song within 7 to 14 days, people sort of forget who you are, or rather forget the last time you released a song. And that's why you see there's a lot of trending songs and trending genres. We had gengeton, now we have, is it abaton? So this, because of the consumption. So in both ways, it's good and it's also bad. It's bad because you tend not to actually appreciate what these people create to the maximum. But it's good because it's also opened up the gates and the doors to people who really didn't have the time or don't have the time to create good, not really good, but long-lasting content like the rest. Yes.
Yeah. Now that you've been in the scene for a really long time, and as Kaka Empire, you have really strong brands. You know, someone like King Kaka is a brand, a really strong and valued brand. Femi One is also a brand. You know, so these are people that started with you. I remember Femi One got into Kaka Empire when she was straight out of high school.
19.
You know, straight out of high school at only 19 years. So how do you make sure that they remain consistent? You know, aside from what you've talked about, the fact that you ensure that you're always checking out music. What else do you do with these brands for them to be such brands, you know, that are valued, brands that people believe in, and, you know, brands that are just, we would say, really strong brands?
I think for me, what I'll say is it comes from experience. I was privileged enough to work in the corporate side. So part of my years back, I used to be a banker. Then I went into insurance, and all these stints I was doing, this other side was into in leadership and management. So I learned a lot on how to manage people and handle brands. How we do it on our end is it's just more than you as an artist. So we get to know who you are as a person. Actually, our mantra, the label is, we are more than just a label, we are family. So we get involved in what you do outside what you're doing or your creative side. So I think that has really helped us in building foundations with this brand to make sure that the sustainability of what they create lasts longer, you know? And also what I can say is we've built a very good team around the artists. So in case of anything, we always know that there's always a team that backs up these people, all in all. With the people we have, we worked with them for this 10, 12 years. So you can imagine, we are actually family. That's actually what has worked for us.
All right, as we finish, maybe a young or an artist who's still establishing themselves, maybe watching right now, and they would love to know from your thoughts or from your point of view, what makes a good song?
I don't know, what's your definition of a good song? Tell us.
A good song is a song that really is able to capture anyone and everyone. It's a song that I can listen to, and it's a song that my 3-year-old nephew can also get to, you know, feel it as well. And I'd say a good song is also a song that is just timeless. It lives on and on and on.
So you're right. But what I feel is any song is a good song. It's just, it is who is consuming it. If you look at what the Gen Zs are consuming these days compared to what we as millennials are consuming, it's very different. So for the artists out there who are creating good songs, don't limit your creativity. Be authentic, be unique, be yourself. You have your audience.
So just be yourself.
Be yourself.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dennis, for joining us on this conversation. It was quite insightful, and maybe there's someone who would love to reach out to Kaka Empire. Do you allow people to reach out to you, or you're the ones who reach out to someone you feel is potential?
We look for you.
Well, so you don't want to be looked for?
We look for you.
Msiwatafute, tutakupigia. All right, thank you so very much, Dennis, and thank you for the good job that you've been doing for the industry as Kaka Empire in general for the years that you've been here. You really need to be given your flowers, so I'm giving them to you. So receive your flowers as Kaka Empire.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, and for staying with us. Remember, this is not the end of the show. In a bit, we'll be back to talk about the film industry, and specifically